Welcome back to Thanks for Sharing, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
Eric V.
And Allie B.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since all three of us have been on.
Mm-hmm.
I've been busy. You've been busy. We've all been busy.
Yeah.
Life has been crazy. It's good. It's good to hear both your voices at the same time. I'm happy about it.
Me too.
All right. So as per Eric's request, we're gonna go straight to the topic first, and then we'll do our thanks for sharing personal afterwards. So, Allie, would you like to announce what our topic for the evening is?
No. You're right. Okay, go ahead. I didn't know where you were going with that, but go ahead, Allie.
Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about anonymity, just being in recovery and your level of how comfortable you are with letting people in your professional life know that you're in recovery, sharing your story. Is it just like in an NA meeting? Are you open to telling everybody? Because in an NA or AA or any type of recovery platform, it's almost like you have this one side of you, but then when you leave the room or the fellowship or wherever, you live this completely separate life. So how comfortable are you with blending the two? Do you blend the two? Do you completely keep them separate? How comfortable you are with that. So I don't want to go first. Eric, you can go first.
I'll go first.
You want to go first, David?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'll go first. Let's just work down the spectrum. Okay. So, as I was talking before we started recording, we sort of have a full spectrum panel here, where different degrees of openness and anonymity. Me personally, I would say that I'm the most open, probably partially by choice, but also just sort of by coincidence. Like, I'm not really in a professional setting where my job is at risk for like breaking my anonymity. So that's a benefit that I have. Like, my co-hosts have more serious jobs. They do. And I'm okay with admitting that. It's fine. And I work like more of a manual labor position, and like we're kind of like the dirty grunts of society anyway, so it doesn't really fucking matter whether I'm in recovery or not. But even excluding that, like in my personal opinion, I've just never given a fuck, really. If I lose a job because of it, first of all, I'm not even sure if that's legal. But I don't know. Eric would probably know the legality of that. But I've just always been very open because I believe that being that transparent and accessible is just more of an opportunity for me to utilize my recovery to help other people. And the more people know about it, the more people are comfortable coming to me in a recovery situation. So like on all my social media, I've always been very open about like my process of recovery. I don't reference my fellowship on my social media very much. Like, I don't specifically say NA. I did in the past, but then, like, I stopped that because I didn't want to, like, be, like, a promoting face, and I didn't want to be, like, breaking a tradition or anything like that. But obviously, I've been more than welcome to promote podcast recovery, and so, like, there's anybody who knows me pretty much now, professionally or personally, knows that I'm in recovery, and like I'm okay with that. But I really firmly believe that the world needs to move towards breaking that stigma because I think in early recovery, I think it can be a big deal professionally because your job just doesn't know what they're dealing with. But after several years in recovery and a person really proving who they are, I don't think it should matter. Like, he has 8 years clean, 10 years clean, whatever. I mean, I don't necessarily think recovery time or clean time should be a factor professionally, but I understand how it is. But if they found out that, like, oh, this guy's in AA and he's been working for our company for 10 years and he's been sober for 8 years, like, yeah, I don't know. But I think because none of us are the people that we were when we were using. I know I wasn't. And honestly, I'm a better employee because I'm in recovery. So if anything, I think a lot of professional places could stand from having people in recovery, like stand to benefit from people in recovery, because I think we're genuine, hardworking people for the most part that are basically the best versions of ourselves. And so, yeah, that's my end of the spectrum. I am full open, out of the closet recovery.
So, do you want me to go or do you want Allie to go?
Let's go Allie next.
Okay, I'll go. So
you guys were like super silent, by the way, while I was talking, and it kind of freaked me out because I wasn't even sure if you guys were still on the phone, and I was just talking to hear like my wife and cat for a second. I was like, are they the only people listening right now?
No, David, we've talked about this. You know, like you just gotta.
I know you're being very respectful.
Yeah, it's being.
And I appreciate that.
So I want you to think about like
just breathe louder, so I know I'm not alone.
Hold on. So I want you to think about like you're chairing a meeting, right? And what if I was just like, yeah, David, share that shit. Like, like
I would appreciate that.
Would you appreciate that? Like,
I would.
That would make me so uncomfortable.
Allie, I do that all the time while you're talking. I'm like, yep. Mm-hmm. I give you the inner city Baltimore meeting.
Well, especially like who else is on the phone right now? Like if either one of us were doing that, like would you be able to compose yourself?
I don't know.
But nonetheless.
I don't know. It's just I don't know.
I will work on that for next time, David. I will try to be more engaged while you're talking.
Just give me one and I'll be like, okay, she's still with me. All right, we're good.
Okay. I will do my best. I will work on that.
Take a look.
Let me see. So the reason that can I talk about the reason why we were talking about this or why this is our topic, right? I can do that.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
The reason that this is a topic is because pretty soon we're going to be going to a different. There'll be video basically to this segment. And my concern is that somebody's going to see my face and then want to hear my podcast because I have one, and then basically for me, like the jig is up, like a double life, it's like it's no longer, and it's crazy because I oscillate between this I'm so tired of having to be somebody that I'm not at work, and not to say that I'm fake, right? Like I'm a completely separate person. I just mean that nobody at my job knows that I'm in recovery. Now, I've never told them. I'm sure there are not warning signs, but red flags, whatever you want to call it. Because I don't drink, and I have shared some crazy ass stories that normal people. I mean, I know when I've shared a story that was too much information because my coworkers just look at me what the fuck? It's a look of confusion, horror, just all of it. And I'm okay, I said too much. But, I never blatantly come out and said, hey, I'm in recovery. So I don't know, I value the fact that I have that. I kind of I don't think I value it. I think I more so live in fear. right? That like, because that old way of thinking for years, I mean, for like literal years, still to this day, I struggle with, if they find out who I really am, they're not going to like me. I'm not going to be welcome. I'm not going to be respected. I'm not going to be looked at in the same light. Like, I mean, even prior to using drugs and prior to the crazy behaviors that come with using drugs, I had that like mantra in my head. And like, what's crazy is like, I didn't even know who the fuck I was. So like, I don't know why I was scared that people were going to find out, you know, who I was when I didn't even really know. Like, I just always lived in this self-centered fear that like, if people really find out who I am, they're not going to like me. So I think that like my recovery / like addiction side of me, like I've been able to put in this like box and like bring it out when I want it, when it's convenient, well not like in the accurate setting, let me say that, and then put it back away when it's no longer needed. And I have some fear about those two worlds colliding. You know, I don't know, like I get kind of feared up, and then I like stay up at night and think, God, remember that thing you said like 4 years ago when you showed this meeting and somebody's going to find out, and it's not, you know, the crazy rabbit hole that I sometimes go down for fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so like I just, I really have been struggling with like wanting, like as much as I have the desire to keep it separate, I have as equal a desire to like let the cat out of the bag, so to say. But I'm just scared to do so. So like most situations in my life, maybe this is just the universe's way of saying, here, I'm going to fucking do it for you. Right? Like you don't have to do anything. Like just do what, you know, you've already said that you're going to do. Just show up and let me handle how the chips fall. But like, that's scary as shit to me. So I don't know. Like, I just wanted to, before we started, I was like, oh, I should take down my podcast so that way nobody really knows the true, real me, I guess. But like, that's not what I really want. I don't want to live a double life. Maybe like in some like weird way, I'm so used to living a double life that I just don't know what it's not. Still, with almost 10 years clean, I don't know what it's like to not live a double life. So maybe that's really the like fear or whatever, the like, oh God, like I'm just going to.
You're living with a familiar situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like a comfortable kind of like a familiar. Sorry if like you guys get some weird stuff happening. One of my AirPods is acting weird. Anyway. So yeah, so I'm like, this is familiar to me. This like order of things is like my norm. So now I feel like it might change, and it might not. Like who knows? Like I don't think my coworkers that aren't addicts are going to be Googling recovery podcasts because whatever. And I think the biggest part of it is the stigmatism that comes with addiction. I mean, like I'm just going to be honest. Like it's still there. You know, like I can do so much work on myself, you know, but even though I'm trying to change, there's a lot of addicts out there that don't want to change. And I think that is still like the bigger picture of what addiction looks like. And like, maybe that's because there's not enough of us in recovery that's like, hey, addiction also looks like that, but it can look like this if you stop using drugs, you know, find a new way to live, work on yourself, you know, just create a whole new being of like who you are and address old issues, deal with trauma, all that stuff. You know, maybe that's like what's needed. Cause yeah, like I work in the medical field, and, you know, when you say like history of drug abuse, the first thing, I mean, I'm even guilty of it. The first time, like history, they probably still use drugs, right? Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know, like it's a stigmatism that goes with the word. It's like a dirty word.
Yeah.
To a lot of people. And it's like so, and like recovery is like so misunderstood because you have a lot of people who are like, they'll say, yeah, I don't use drugs anymore, but like they're all methadone and they haven't done any work on themselves. So like they still have the same behaviors. Like you have people who are like clean and crazy, right? Like, or, you know, dry drunk. So I think even like the whole recovery realm is still like very new, and it's not really talked about a lot. Like in the rooms it is, but like once you go outside of the rooms, the only really like recovery stuff you see is advertisements for rehabs or these quick fix programs that are like, hey, I'm no longer an addict, right? Like, so the recovery that I know is different, and it's also very personal. I think like that is another huge thing for me. Like my recovery is like so personal, and like sharing that with other people in a certain setting, I have learned to become comfortable with. But like sharing that in like everyday life is like, that looks really like uncomfortable and really, I don't know, like scary, I'm intimidated by it. So I think that is like, so I'm like half in, half out. And, one day I might be a little bit more half into like, oh, I don't care who knows. And then the next day or the next minute, I might be like, oh, I care who knows. But you know what, like, this is 2020, this year, if it's taught me anything, it's like, who gives a shit, right? Like, who really cares? Like, really, I think, like, all bets are off. It's like, nothing matters. So, like, if anything, let me just, like, get on this vibration of, like, who cares? And just ride it and let, like, however, the universe and God or whatever you want to call it, like, however they see fit for it to pan out, that's how it's going to end up, because the more I try to control it, it's just going to get a little bบcrazy. And then I'm going to do crazy shit, like taking down a podcast that I did with the intention to help someone out of fear of somebody else finding out. And like you said, David, I think I'm just like scared that somebody would view me differently, but like that's on them. Right? Like that is like completely on them. If somebody were to find out.
I have a question for you. Have you ever considered that in the case of somebody viewing differently, they could think of you better than they did before? Because I'll be honest, from when I first met you to our relationship now, I know a lot more about you. I know a lot more about your past, and I think more highly of you now, and have so much respect and admiration for you now that I didn't previously, because you opened up and were vulnerable.
I mean, like, well, of course that didn't cross my mind. Why would it? That's logical and reasonable. Like mine was like, everybody's going to hate me, or it was a self-centered fear. Everybody's going to judge me. They're going to hate me. Nobody's going to want to be my friend anymore. Like, just whatever. Like, all of these crazy repercussions that, whatever. So, I didn't think of that at all.
Just saying, something to think about. Change isn't always bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the fear. It's like that living two different lives. Like I have done that for so long that is like my normal. And the thought of like, I don't know, being fully honest and like fully open with no disclosure with like anyone, like that is a little intimidating to me. So that's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing. What about you, Eric, Mr. Man behind the curtain?
Yeah, I mean, I like being the wizard. You're
like the Wizard of Oz to me.
You get to like, I'm not so keen on hot air balloons. I think there needs to be more regulation behind the licensing process for hot air balloons, but that's just my 2 cents into
I mean, metaphorically, you're not like quite the total sham that he is, but you're the puppet master pulling the strings, and that's what I appreciate about you.
Thank you, David. So I have a weird relationship with my anonymity. Professionally, I think so I also have this, I guess I have a very strange diet. Let's put it that way. And like, I've had like certain health issues, which when I go out because I do go out with coworkers like when, before COVID. And they'd be like, "Oh, do you want a drink?" And I'm like, "No." It's like pretty reasonable for them to be like, "Oh, well, he's vegan and he like doesn't eat this and like he's on this low FODMAP diet." And it's like it all like and they're like, "Oh, is it because of like your health?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like it's easy. It's like such an easy out because of the way I eat and like the way I think about like my health and like different problems that I don't have to explain it any further. But people fucking, for sure, of course. Like if once people get to know me, and like a lot of people are surprised when they do find out, but it's just like, dude, like I was like a musician and like I was in the art scene for years and I fucking like, I worked at record stores for 6 years of, during college and high school. Like, this is like a fucking, Empire Records movie. Like, what do you mean? Like, you think my life is like, like, of course I did drugs. Are you kidding me? Like, I worked at record stores for 6 years. There's just sober people who do that. But, whatever. Like, it's kind of just the way I'm looking at it right now is that it's not as much my anonymity that like, because, sometimes I'll like, not really with work people, but more with like people that are just, personal people in my life. Like if I'm playing petanque or something or playing like a game, like, with family, friends and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, you're not going to take a shot?" And I'm like, "That shot leads to heroin, sir." And like, but in a very calm voice, you know what I mean? And I'm like, so I just freak people out really quick and then they stop fucking with me. But it's kind of mean, but I take, their tone changes, but I'm like, I kind of laugh a little bit inside. But, I don't know, like yesterday I went and did this film shoot and I was wearing like a short sleeve shirt, right? And it like the sleeves don't go all the way down. Like it's kind of like maybe a little bit, it's a shorter short sleeve shirt. So I have like a shit ton of cut marks on my upper arms. And they're pronounced, like you can't miss them. So I'm in there with 2 other coworkers who I'm sure saw them. Like when I've been to conferences before and like I'm wearing short sleeve shirts that are, like smalls, so they don't cover that. Like, I've had people ask me, I remember my wife's sister asked, "What's that on your arm? Like, did you get scratched?" And I was like, by a razor. But that's my sick humor. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
God, I love you.
I thought it was funny. But I don't know. I mean, I have considered saying fuck it to the stigma for a while. But right at this current moment in time, professionally, I'm not there. I'm fine with the voice. I'm not fine with the camera. But also in my creative life, I'm not fine with like, I'm going back to being like anonymous creatively too. So like I will only have professional face, which shows my face. And that's like also strategic. That's not just, I essentially have 3 different people that I am. And I don't want them mixing. Because like they're all distinct and they all have their own, functions and they all do their own thing. And I don't want someone from work or someone from like the arts to then look and be like, "Oh, let's talk about recovery." And it's like, no, I'm here to talk about, like photography right now. Like I want to talk about like this installation that I'm creating for a gallery. Like I don't want to talk about my recovery. And I don't want those 2 things to mesh because I don't want one to influence the other. I want them to all be able to stand on their own. But that's just me. Like that's like I don't want them to I don't want them to blend. But I'm okay like if my boss was to be like, "What's up with you not drinking?" I would be, no one ever asked me, They just assume like that it's a health thing, and I'm not going to correct them. But it's like, I'm also not going to go into like, oh yeah, I was like a garbage junkie for, I don't know, like 15 years. You know, because what's the point in that?
Yeah.
But
You don't need to share your fourth step with them.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind. Like, if my boss was like, you know,
Yeah, I totally do.
what? What do you mind?
Oh, if somebody wants it, I'm just like, oh, what do you want to know? I'm just like, oh, first step, cool, let's go into this.
No,
Let's do this shit.
No, obviously, you know, like, if I'm making jokes about like cutting myself and shooting heroin, I don't mind going into it. I mean, you've like, I really don't mind. It'll more freak people out than anything else. But like,
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm not, I would keep it pretty vanilla. I'm not going to go into like the craziest of shit because, yeah, why would I? Right? Like, you know, like.
Oh, see, I do.
But here's the thing, like, so you were talking about that, like, so kind of like the stigma, right? Like, and I agree with that. Like, fuck the stigma. Like, I think it's ridiculous, the fact that, like, you know, addiction is so stigmatized. Like, one of the things I was thinking about the other day is when you apply for a job, right? Like, you have to get a background check and you have to get a drug test. Like, I mean, so theoretically, addiction is in the, the DSM-5, right? So
Yes.
if it's in that, then it's considered an illness.
What is it?
The psychology, mental illness book, right? DSM-5, is that correct?
Oh,
I think that's correct.
I'm not familiar with it.
Really?
I will take your. Yeah, I'm not. Believe it or not, I'm not familiar with that.
It's
Yeah,
basic. It's
DSM-5.
encyclopedia for psychoses.
Yeah, it's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM.
Yes.
Okay. No, I totally believe you. I've never heard of that book before. Like, I knew it was like a diagnosis, like a medical diagnosis, and I knew it went along with like mental health. I just didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy you a copy because I think you would
Me
enjoy
too.
it.
I will read it. I will read
Hell
it.
yeah.
I love literature.
Oh yeah.
Well, but here's the thing I was thinking about the other day, guys, and tell me if my logic is fucked here, right? So,
It's fucked.
well, hold on. You haven't heard the argument. You haven't heard the argument.
I got it.
So, like, there's a campaign around like ban the box, right? Where, if you haven't heard about that, that's like getting rid of the felony, you know, background checks to even out the playing field for jobs. And like, I was listening to an economist talk about this the other day, and I'm not really, you know, I would have to like understand more information behind it, but like, I get the general premise. I'm not sure if it works, but with mental, like with addiction, you're asking people to take a drug test. Like, I just feel like you could get a real lawsuit around like a HIPAA law and discrimination. And like, I'm being completely serious. Like, I think that there could be a lawsuit.
That's what I'm not so sure of, but discrimination, yes.
Absolutely.
Because you're discriminating
I think
against
HIPAA
someone's illness. Yeah, and like, if addiction is an illness, like, can you go like,
Yeah.
can I go up to someone and be like, can you please put out your finger? I want to get your blood sugar.
Yeah.
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 No. Yeah, you have a valid point.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Because if you're saying like someone can come and have diabetes, because even if you're doing the insurance thing, right? Like, there's still like, if you're hiring someone with diabetes, if you're hiring someone with like high blood pressure, like if you're hiring like anyone, like high cholesterol, like their premiums for insurance are going to cost more. So you can't use that argument either. And I feel like doing the drug test, right? You're making a not like, you don't know. Like, maybe they smoke a little bit of pot, maybe they smoke a lot of pot, maybe they do a little bit of drugs, maybe they don't. But you're making an assumption based off a drug test that they are in fact an
especially
addict.
weed, because especially with marijuana, because like it stays in your system so long that you really can't get a real accurate gauge on like percentages inside people. So like it's that's a particular hairy one, and I think you are spot on. I think the only analogous issue I have is with more the crime aspect, because, and I understand, like, it's obviously different for different jobs, and it's different for different levels of crime, but like certain people with violent offenses shouldn't have, in my opinion, certain jobs. People with
hold on,
sex offenses should not have certain jobs.
But David, we're not talking about, like, okay, but do any of us have violent offenses?
Huh?
Do you have a violent offense, or Allie? Do you have a violent offense? Like, I don't have a violent offense on my record.
No, I do. No, I do not.
I have no offenses. What? Knock on wood. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a girl.
Weird.
You're a girl. You get out of it. You get out of it.
I'm sorry. It's messed up, but this is definitely white privilege. I am a white female. I mean,
that's true.
I have seen it multiple times where, like, my white privilege, and especially being a white female, I mean, if there's something, they're going to arrest the dude that I'm with before me. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, my street name was very pleasant, so they would be like, "Oh, why don't you just fucking go back to where you live? It sounds really nice."
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Huh.
My parents live on a street called Pleasant Villa, so they would just be like, "Oh, that sounds really nice. Why don't you?"
Yeah, you were thinking she had like a street nickname.
Yeah, I was thinking like something
all out alley or something like that.
I did have a street nickname, guys, and I'm pretty sure you both know what it is. David, are you fucking kidding me right now? Not know my nickname? Yes, you do. Yeah.
Are you gonna? Yeah. You're gonna have to say it. I'm sorry.
Why? Why? Okay, so it was Skipper. Everybody called me Skip.
Oh, for Skipper.
Short. Yes. As the weed progressed on, it went from Skipper to Skip. Yes, and that was me. A lot of people, like, who still know me, like, you can tell, like, who really knows me. Like, they'll just randomly be like, "Oh, Skip, what's up?" Like, I'm like, "Oh, it like feels dirty."
Yeah, I did know.
Why are you called Skipper or Skip?
So, God bless her soul.
Because she was in the rotation and you would skip her.
Yeah, well, you're close, very close. But so everybody had a nickname so there was a girl named Troll, we had Sparky, who was always, Spark and Bless because he sold weed. My other friend was Soldier Slim. She was not Slim, God rest her soul. She was like a gangster. I was like, this bitch, like, was fucking crazy. And then we had Whoop, because my friend looked like Whoopi Goldberg. We were all smoking weed, and she didn't have eyebrows that were like very, like, whatever Whoopi doesn't have. Whoopi Goldberg doesn't have eyebrows that are very noticeable. So I started calling her Whoop. So basically, everybody had a nickname in my, like, crew, right? And everybody was like, "We need a nickname for you. We need a nickname for you." And we were in a cipher. We were in a circle. And the Sparky, was asking me if I had $1 so he could roll a joint real tight. I don't know if y'all know the technique or whatever. God, you're crazy. Both of them are dead. Like, that just like hit me. And anyway, he was like, he kept asking me, but my burnt fucking dumb high ass was like not paying attention. Shocker. So he was like, "All right, skip her." And asked, like, my sister who was sitting next to me. And Crystal was like, "Oh shit, Skipper. Oh my God, that's it." And, like, before you knew it, like, even like my teachers in school and my principal, like, everybody called me Skipper. Like, it was like one of those things.
Amazing. That's amazing.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So that was my name.
Total side tangent. Eric, did you have a nickname or street name at any point?
I mean, most people, I feel like, I mean, it still incorporates, like, that, like, not really. No. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm like, he's drumming something up.
Nothing that stuck. Like, I did have,
nothing notable.
No, like, there were attempts, but they never stuck. There's like 2 attempts, they didn't stick.
Yeah, I have an old family one. and you both know it. It's Dirt Dog. It comes from we would always go down to North Carolina for vacation, and the like seafood shop we would go to had this dog, this 3-legged dog there that always remembered me every
tripod.
Yeah, they had a tripod dog that would always remember me, and like I love the shit out of this dog. I look forward to seeing it. It like lived for ungodly long for a dog, and the name of the dog was Dirt Dog, and the place is like moniker and like the t-shirts they sold were it was like middle of the island seafood, home of the Dirt Dog, and I got one of those t-shirts and I wore it religiously, and people like, yeah, I was known as the Dirt Dog for years.
I love it.
Some people still call me Dirt Dog.
That.
Dude,
yeah, I think still calls you that.
Dude, lots of people still call me Dirt Dog. I love it. There's so many fucking Davids in this world. Call me Dirt.
Disclaimer, do not call me Skipper. Skip.
Oh, I'm going to.
There's one person that I know. There's like 2 or 3 people that I'll let it slide for, and those are people who knew me when I was Skip, and like that was, it was, that's, if you would have called me, if you were trying to like get my attention, you wouldn't have said Skip. But yeah.
I just texted it to myself, so now it's actually in writing. Call Allie Skipper. So will do on occasions. Call you Skipper. Okay, back to the stigma. Back to the stigma. I wrote down a question that I think we should answer. What's the next step for our society towards breaking the stigma of addiction and recovery? Anybody?
I'll go. So I think that, maybe showing the side of recovery that has not really been presented to the world, right? Like if you look at most of the recovery, 12-step recovery groups, they're anonymous, right? So there are a lot of people out there who, are addicts, they're alcoholics, they're shopaholics, they're sexaholics, like whatever, like that have, changed, and it's not talked about because it's like one of those things that it's like the stigma is there, so people just feel comfortable in those settings and not outside of those settings. Mm-hmm. But maybe showing the world, like, hey, like this is who I was, but this is who I am now, and this is how I got there. And basically like anybody, what's crazy is that like, if you think about all of these like self-help groups, like anybody could use them, right? Like anybody could fucking benefit from like looking at yourself, taking a personal inventory, writing down some stuff that's like your dirtiest secrets that you never wanted to share with anybody, and just telling someone, excuse me, I just choked on my own saliva there. With talent. But yeah, like, so I think that like showing it, like the recovery side of addiction, and not just saying like, I'm no longer an addict, but like actually saying like, hey, like I still am an addict and I still struggle in these areas, but this is what I do, so that I don't use drugs, or like I don't self-harm, or I don't steal, or I don't like drink or whatever. That is one way that we can, and also like maybe having a conversation with people, like making people more aware. Like I said, I work in the medical field, and like I see a lot of people who use drugs, and like, man, some of them are treated like shit, like straight shit. And to be honest, like if you're on drugs, you probably aren't the most pleasant person, right? You're probably an asshole. You're probably demanding. You're probably like whatever. You also might be homeless, so you might not have the best hygiene, but like bottom line, like, is that you're human and you deserve the same respect that you would give to somebody who's not, on drugs, because like, you don't know what led up to somebody using drugs. Like you don't know their hurt, you don't know their pain, you don't know their trauma. So just maybe like saying like, yes, like why like addiction is a disease, and it's not just like, while you might choose to use drugs the first time, like something might happen that like makes you think that that's a logical thing to do to treat how you feel right now. So maybe just like more awareness of like the disease side of it and like the trauma that, you know, people go through that's why they turn to drugs. Yeah, just like, and also like the hope is like calling people out on it, right? Like when somebody is treating or like, you know, the stigmatism's there and somebody's acting like, oh, they use drugs, they're worthless. Maybe saying like, no, they're not, they're still human and they can, you know, they still have hope. Because I think that's like, you see someone that's on drugs and you automatically just deem them as hopeless, useless, burden, you know, they're burden to society, like whatever. Like you just are completely written off. And like I think society's way of dealing with it is like the whole Band-Aid situation that we love to do with like everything that's like really dark and ugly and needs to be addressed. Like let's just put this little methadone on it, this little Suboxone on it, and you know, we'll just like not deal with it. We'll just change the problem and hope that maybe they get the help that they need. But yeah, like I think that too, that whole reform could also happen. So yeah, that's all I got.
I love that. Like you said everything so well, and like you're 100% right. Like my mind went to a complete opposite place that was just like way more like dramatic and theatrical. I'm like, we should have just like a million addict march. We should just all march on Washington and I had a pipe speech by Dirt Dog on the steps of Capitol Hill in front of a million other addicts, and we're all cheering and fucking saying break the stigma and protesting, and like Biden was just like super in your face. Like, yeah, we need to show them. And then, like, I really just believe it probably just evolved into just something terrible.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you got that many, like, people together, addicts together, God, it would just be like a clusterfuck. Like, it would, I can only imagine. My mind did think that, too, for a moment. And I was like, oof, I played the whole tape, David.
I totally had like a Forrest Gump moment in my brain, and instead of like a whole bunch of hippies around the reflecting pool, it's a whole bunch of recovering addicts, and we're all happy. Like I saw it both ways, like it's just going into complete like calamity and crisis, or just like the most harmonious fucking showing of like, oh, these people aren't terrible, and all they just want to be is heard, and that's exactly what you said. Like we need more open talks about shit. Like and what you said about like people in addiction and recovery being marginalized. I mean that's what the stigma is. I mean, like we really are like painted into this corner where oh, they don't drink, they don't do this, like they have a checkered past. Meanwhile, like this family is like totally like having a skeleton packed closet that's like about to burst open and like just end in like family tragedy. Like and like that's something I really think needs to change about us as people, period. Is like we just need to start opening our mouths and being real about ourselves and stop having these facades. And just realize that, like, we need to show people that, like, these people in recovery they're getting better. Like, this is, like, the best version of themselves. And, like, Eric knows I love to use famous people and iconography for that. And it's like, look at Robert Downey Jr. Fucking 20 years ago, he was a shit show. Robert Downey Jr.'s like the whole decade of the 90s was a complete shit show, and even the early 2000s. And then he started living a better way of life, and he's the most recognizable, like one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. Like he's the head of a Disney franchise. Like he's fucking Iron Man, and like it. And I really believe a lot of it's because he's fucking clean. And he's living a better way of life.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. You know, everybody has hurt. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has shame. Everybody has guilt. You know, I think that recovery is like showing not only like addicts, but like the whole world, like, hey, like you can fucking heal, right? Like you can like let that shit go. You can like look at the shitty situation for what it is and be like, you know, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm going to try to find a new way to be. Like, I'm going to try to find a healthier way of thinking, a healthier way of living, I mean, whatever it's for. And I mean, like, I think that it's almost like the stigma is there because think about it. If you have a whole world full of happy, healthy people, what's fucking pharma going to get out of that? What's, you know, like so many like big industries are going to, you know, they don't benefit from that. So why would that be shown? Why would, I mean, like, I don't know, like it's a changing how you think and like changing your habits is a free thing to do that you can do to better yourself and better your life. But, you know, instead, like people are, because it's like, oh, well, you have this, you're an addict forever. You know, you got to be on this forever or whatever. Like, it's just, it's so, I don't know. It's one of the things that like recovery and addiction is not like medically speaking. I think if you are a doctor and you get like literally a day or like half a day, like this is addiction. Like you don't, you know, like nobody really knows. Nobody talks about it. So it's not known. So like maybe like by us even starting this conversation, who knows? Like we could help change the face of addiction. Yeah, that be some shit, y'all.
I know. And it's not just drugs and alcohol. It's just like Eric said. It's self-harm. I mean, like, and that's what all addiction is. Well, not all addiction, but behaviors. Like, they're self-destructive behaviors, whether it's gambling or sex or food or cutting or drugs or alcohol. And I want to hear what Eric has to say now. Go, Eric.
Yeah. Well, what was the original question? What was the original question again? That was a while ago.
What's the next step for our society towards breaking the stigma of addiction and recovery?
Well, with recovery, I'll start with addiction. So, to break the stigma for addiction, I firmly believe it's about education. I mean, and I've spoken about this before, like, Dare, are you fucking kidding me? Get out of here with that shit. Like, I mean, okay, I have this...
Don't do drugs.
You know what I mean? Like, I have this vivid memory of this video that showed, it was about, like, not smoking cigarettes. And we were in 7th grade in health class, and it was, like, this one guy was, like, an accountant, like, you know, working at his desk in a cubicle, like, you know, doing the right thing. And it's like, you know, Johnny does the right thing at his accounting job. And then it showed like Billy, and Billy is like shooting pool and has like 2 hot chicks like at the pool table. And then he like gets into like a sports car and lights up a cigarette, and it's like, don't be like Billy. And it's like, is this a fucking ad to like smoke or not smoke? Because like, I want to be like Billy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, Johnny doesn't look that cool. I'm in 7th grade.
Cigarette company.
Yeah, like, and it's just like, it was stuff like that where it was just like, or all the lying. Like, kids are smarter than people like give them credit for. Like, when I talk to a child, I don't talk to them like a child. I talk to them like a person. A lot of people talk to, you know, kids like they're, you know, like they don't understand. They do understand if you explain it to them. Like, they're capable of understanding. I'm not going to be like, if you do this drug, you're going to become addicted forever. You might not, but you might. Like, who the fuck knows? Here's the risk of taking the drug, and here's, you know, what you should know if you ever, like, consider doing it. Like, I just don't think saying don't do it is the right way to always go about it. I think educating people and letting them know that, like, you could do it. If you hit a certain age and you're like, you want to do it, like, that's up to you. Here's the risk of doing that. And it can lead to addiction. Like, when someone tells me not to do something, I really want to fucking do it. So, like, don't tell me not to do it. And, like, everyone knows that. Don't tell people not to do things. Like, because then they're going to fucking do them. Yeah. It's like, don't open that door. It's like, now I really want to open that door. why'd you tell me not to open that
Yeah.
door? What's behind that door? Are
Yeah,
you
what's
hiding
behind the
something?
door?
Like, I want to find out what's behind that door. So I don't think it's
Uh-huh.
saying, like, it's not just say no. It's, why should I say no? Tell me why I
Yes,
should
exactly.
say no. Don't tell me that I should say no. Tell me why. Because, like, just saying no, like, that's taking a leap of blind faith on bullshit facts from, like, the fucking Reagan era. I'm not down with that. Give me, like, real
Yep.
facts about why I should say no and, like, real things about addiction. Because, like, right now, like, I'll hear, like, I remember, like, when I went to college, they'd have this shit on the wall that was just, like, the most ridiculous, like, statistics ever. And, we'd be, like, high, and we'd be like, do you see this thing about ecstasy? Like, this is such fucking nonsense. And it's like, this isn't a real fact. Like,
Yeah.
they're just making up fucking numbers. Now, conversely, I agree with Allie with recovery. The issue with the fellowship-based programs is that, and it's part of what the fellowship-based programs are, because Anonymous is part of it, is that you don't boast, right? You don't say, like, I'm
You
clean
don't talk
now.
about Fight Clubs.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first two rules, right? You don't talk about it. But I think you should.
Yep. I agree.
Wait, holy shit. Is that a fucking Fight Club? I've never had that thought before.
Yeah, don't talk
Yeah.
about
The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
Second rule of Fight Club
Yeah.
is you don't talk
You don't
about
talk
Fight Club.
about Fight Club. I am very familiar with Fight Club and the rules of Fight Club, but I never really, like, thought of it in that context. And, like, now my mind is just blown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
welcome.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah. I know.
By the
I
way-
can't believe I've never had that thought.
Eric may or may not be Tyler Durden. Just throwing that out there. Could be a figment of all of our imaginations. Don't know.
Oh,
Unsure yet.
Okay.
that is such a compliment.
Oh, but I know.
Oh,
You're welcome.
that is a high
I
compliment.
wanna
I'll
tell-
take it. Go ahead.
That is a very high compliment. I want to tell my DARE story because I totally got fucking ratted out in my DARE program, and I was fucking pissed.
That's
Like,
amazing.
they did the whole...
Did
it sucked dick, 'cause I was...
did little Jimmy like say
snitch
like
on you?
did little Jimmy snitch on you and was like, David offered me weed in the bathroom?
Dude, yeah.
Smoked a
Like,
cigarette before he came in.
I was smoking cigarettes by then, and like they played that probably the exact same tape, and literally this girl was like, David smokes cigarettes, and I was like, you bitch. Like, I still remember who it was. I won't throw her name out there, but Amanda, I see you, bitch. Like, I still remember that. Anyway,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
And then,
You might need to work on that resentment.
Yeah.
oh my God, I have a full resentment against this girl. It's okay because in 10th grade I made her cry in the middle of class unintentionally, and it was
10th
amazing.
grade?
Not by my fault.
Wait, weren't you a bully
No,
in high school? Didn't you say that?
Okay, that's a different. I'll get into that story in a second.
It's just
You were
weird.
a
Let me
fucking
redeem
bully?
myself. I was.
Well,
I am a recovering bully as well.
So I think what's weird about that, I want to jump into a
David.
tangent. I think being a bully in like middle school is acceptable because everyone's a fucking little shithead. And everyone's really just
Yeah.
a bully and mean to each other. I'd say like at
Yeah.
least 50%
Yeah, you hate
of middle
yourself.
school is like just vindictive little fuckers who are trying to hurt everyone else's
Yes.
feelings. But high school,
I agree.
like high school, I don't
Dude.
know. I feel like people got
Let
cool
me-
in high school and were like, oh yeah, everyone's cool. Like,
Okay. In
Let me
David's
explain.
defense, I was kind of a Regina George in high school, but it was only because I went from a private school to a public school, and I fucking hated that school, and I hated the education system for like, I wanted to go to a different private school, and we moved, and my parents were like, you have to go to this public school. I had never been to public school. I had a chip on my shoulder. So I was a bit of a Regina George. No burn book, nothing like that, but I was like very like, don't fucking talk to me, don't look at me. I do not want to be your friend.
Wait.
I cut school a lot. Yeah, I was
did you
a
go
trouble
to
kid.
Did you go to Catonsville or Lansdowne?
I went to Kansasville. How dare you say? I was like, I'm just kidding.
Well, I went to Catonsville too,
Catonsville.
Allie. I mean, what's wrong with Catonsville?
Wait. Okay, to hear me out. So this is my education story, David. I'm sorry I hijacked your bullying story.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Wait a second.
So,
Wait, are you
out.
talking shit on my alma mater of Catonsville High School? Like, what's going on? Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, no, please listen. But by the time I graduated, I had made my fucking peace. I was okay with the high school, but so I went to a private school. I went to St. Timothy's for like pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third grade. Fourth and fifth grade, I was homeschooled. We used Calvert, like I did fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh school, like sixth and seventh grade in the 2 years I was homeschooled. So then I went to St. William's. It was a very, very, very small. I was like one of maybe 14 kids, if that. It was like a Catholic school, right? So, and I loved Catholic school. Like, I need like full disclosure. Like, I was the fucking goody. Like, I was like teacher's pet. Like, I was like, I didn't wear nail polish because they told me I couldn't. Like, I didn't wear makeup because they told me I couldn't. Like, I was front row, like dork. I loved it. I I am like secretly a fucking dork, guys. And then I went from this school of being like one of 16 where I was like, I felt confident. I felt sure of myself.
You were a big fish in a little pond.
Correct. So, and then I went to Catonsville High School and I was dropped into being like one of 600. The school was huge. Like everybody, I was the new girl. There was a ton of new people there, but like I just had I was in high school. I had all these emotions happening within me. And like I did not, like everybody kept trying to push me like, oh, you should be in honors. You should be in DT. And then I like looked at their kids and I was like, they're so stupid. I don't want to be in class with them. So I took the easy road out and I was like, I'm just going to take general courses. And then like, I didn't, so I also never wore regular clothes to school. My whole life, I always had to wear a uniform. So that was very strange for me. Like, see, I don't know, like it was just a very foreign concept for me. And I was so overwhelmed. And my way of dealing with being overwhelmed and scared and nervous and unsure of myself was to become a major bitch. And that's like that's like a whatever control thing that I have, or I'm not a control thing. What am I thinking of more? I can't think of it anyway. So like 9th grade, I kind of flew under the radar. 10th grade, I started using drugs and I hated that school. 11th grade, I kind of lost my mind and then I got better. And then I was like, oh, what am I doing? Like I'm wasting my time. I'm like, I could learn something. And then I started to get good grades. I even was like student of the month multiple times. I made honor roll the whole year, whatever. Like I was the ideal student. But like, it was really hard for me. Like I did not adapt well to that school. And I felt like there was like way too many kids in the classroom. The curriculum that they used, like even like so they were like, you should take these DP classes, right? And I was like reading the stuff that they would do, and I'm like, guys, I like read this in 5th grade, like I'm like, I don't, I just felt like I didn't fit in, and yeah, I hated that school. I mean, literally, like my senior year, I think I only talked to like a handful of people. Like I was not, I don't know.
When did you graduate?
I wasn't feeling it. 2002.
Okay. So
yeah, are you 2005? You're 2005 like me, Eric, right?
No, we talk about this all the time. I am 6.
Oh,
you're 06.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Because you guys were born in 87. I was born in 88.
I was born in 84. Oh, I'm so old, guys.
So I was a freshman when you were a senior, Allie.
I want to chance to defend myself now.
Okay, bully David, please. Full disclosure, let me know. Not cool, but
Amanda called me out in DARE, and then the cop is like, "Oh yeah, you think smoking is cool?" I was like, "I don't know, my mom does it," and he was like, "I think my mom's cool," and it became a whole thing. Anyway, Amanda, I went elementary, middle, and high school with this girl, Amanda. She never liked
DARE was middle school. I just need to know timeline.
Yeah.
Yes.
DARE's
middle school.
It started in 5th grade.
Yeah, started in 5th grade, and then she called me out in middle school. And then 3 years go by, we're in 10th grade, and we're both in the same history class. It was U.S. history, and it was easy as shit for me because that's something I've always been interested in, always studied in. And my teacher wanted to make a point because he just took me and this girl Amanda and put us like side by side. He was like, David, what'd you get on this last test? And I was like, I got 100%. And she was like, she like scoffed. She's like, oh, whatever. And he's like, okay, Amanda, what did you get? She was like, I got a 78. And then the teacher asked Amanda, he was like, did you work hard? Did you study hard for the test? And of course, the goody answer is like, yeah, I studied so hard. I studied for 2 hours and blah, 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 blah. He's like, okay, David, did you study at all? And I was like, no, I didn't study at all. Of course not. And she starts getting like way flustered. And she's like, what? How? Like, it doesn't even make sense. And all I said to her, that was like, as far as this crying situation went, I was like, it's not my fault. You have to study hard for a worse grade than me. And she just starts crying, and she's like, but you smoke pot, and calls me out for smoking pot in 10th grade. I was like, you bitch! Yes! She ratted on me again. I was like, you bitch! And my teacher just looked at me, and he was like, I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear that, but I'm also not surprised, and just walked away. And she meanwhile, was bawling in class because a pothead got a better grade than her. And I was like, what the fuck? And so that was that bully story. That was not my fault. That was my teacher's fault.
I think what's important to say, like one important thing.
Was it your teacher's fault, even?
Well, Allie, did you hear though?
It was
what
partially
he said?
my fault.
What you said was this time. you like that's not the only time you made someone cry.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
That's what you made cry.
Okay.
Well, we don't need to do your like 4 through 9 right now. You know, like.
Yeah, this will be another episode. We can.
If ever we do 9 stuff.
Okay. He's actually like the one dude is legit like on my 9th step, but like I don't think it's safe to make that amends.
Guys, I have some really fucked shit that I did that like I don't even know if I put this person on my 9th step the first time because like I forgot about it. But I used to try to make guys feel like shit. I was a really fucked up person.
Yeah, and see that's honestly encapsulates recovery. Recovery period. As a human being, we were shitheads. I was a shithead for a long time. From like age 11 to 25. Yeah, we still can be. Absolutely. We're human beings. But for the last however many years, all three of us have been working very diligently and using introspection and a lot of different other tools to really be vigilant of who we are and how we think and how we behave. And we've eliminated so many bad behaviors. And of course, as soon as we eliminate one, another one's going to pop up out of fucking nowhere. But then we can see ourselves coming, and we can address those things right when we need to. And I'm really making a case for Eric and his 10th step right now, which I hate, but it's true.
Oh.
Like right when we see ourselves coming, we can shift gears and change who we are. We can restart our days. We can be the better versions of ourselves that we know are inside us, because whatever is happening in our lives is coming out negatively through us. And we have the ability to change that. Like we were powerless and now we're not. And now we have this power to help others and change others and break the stigma and really show what recovery can possibly do for not only ourselves, but for everybody. And I think that's real, just like you said, Allie, like really kind of showing the world that like, hey, we're better now. Like we're and I think that's really the most powerful part, is owning it. And that's why I'm so open, because I fucking own it. So nothing in my past can be used against me, because I'll play my cards first. I'll throw my card down on the fucking table and be like, yep, that's what it is. You're not going to fucking emotionally or psychologically blackmail me with it, because that's who I am, or that's who I was. And I'm not that person anymore. And I'm really glad I'm not that person anymore. And Amanda, if you're still that person from high school, whatever, bitch.
Jesus.
So what about your part?
No, what about my part? I'm not happy about that. It wasn't entirely my part. I shouldn't have made that very snide comment. And Amanda, if you're out there and you're listening, I apologize. And I was always kind of jealous of you, because you always got very good grades and everybody liked you, and you were just super. She was just a super goody, and I could have been that, and I wasn't that, and I think part of me was jealous about that. Like I could have.
Why?
I could have gotten like the things she did. What?
Why?
Why wasn't I?
No, why? I mean,
why?
why?
I was a dirt dog.
Because you were a dirt.
What?
You were a dirt dog.
I was the dirt dog from the other side of the tracks, man. I was the dirty fucking dog, and that's how I felt as a little kid. I mean, I grew up in Colombia, and we were the Addams family. Like, we were dysfunctional as shit. And if you go down the street I grew up on, you're like, holy shit, this is out of a movie. Like, that's how like typical suburban, like my neighborhood was. And we were we would have screaming, drag out fights in the middle of the street. And I never felt a part of that sort of super stuck up community. And it was a very rich community around me, and I was not a rich kid. Like I would have to stay over at friends' houses because our power was shut off that night because my parents didn't pay the bill. So and she sort of exemplified that really pristine community standard that I didn't have. And I always kind of had a chip on my shoulder about it. And I grew up with that chip on my shoulder. So that's how that was.
Yeah, that's it. I did it twice. All right, 2. I got 1 and 2 in.
I'm very happy. Yeah, I got one. I think I got one from Eric too, and that's really meaningful.
That was a beautiful, beautiful experience hearing you say that to Amanda. Amanda, I hope you fucking hear this one day. And if you don't,
Amanda,
it's cool.
Just know that I was jealous of you. I really was. You had everything that I wanted as a kid, and I didn't get, and I felt bad about it. I never tried to throw it in your face, but I made you cry, and I'm sorry about that.
See, exact nature. Look at that feeling that just took place.
Yeah, I feel better about that, actually.
Good.
I feel better.
I feel better about it. Eric, how do you feel?
It's all good. Yeah, that's some healing. That's my best.
That seems about on par for Eric.
Yeah, that's the best I can do, guys.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I tried to be sincere.
The boat is not rocking, so there we go. That's what we get from Eric.
I don't even know if it's being cynical. I have no idea what. Because I don't think it's cynicism. I think it's it's just something else. I don't know.
It's just Eric.
Yeah.
It's just Eric. It's just who you are.
We're going to get there. We're going to find out.
We're making progress. We're making progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tune in next time and we're going to find out why Eric is like that.
Hey, we'll test. Love you, Eric.
Oh, I love you guys.
I love you too, Eric.
Yes.
And
so much love.
seriously, there is I feel like people are so much more prone to say you know what I don't like, you know what I really hate, you know what really pisses me off, instead of being you know what I love, you know what makes me feel really good, you know what I just I wish would happen all the time. If we could change that up, imagine how much better this world would be.
Mm-hmm. I love flowers. I love flowers.
I love flowers too. I planted a whole bunch of them. I'm excited to watch them grow.
What's your favorite flower, Allie?
God, there's so many beautiful ones. Let me, if I had to pick one, what would it be? Probably a rose. Or an iris. I love iris.
Ooh, irises are very nice. That's a solid pick. My favorite's the stargazer lily.
Okay, I have some of those. Those are also beautiful.
Love those.
Eric?
Love those.
Favorite flower?
It's probably a rose, but
Eric's
I also
like whatever. What?
no.
Go ahead.
I do have a favorite flower.
Oh my God.
It's either a rose or an orchid.
Okay,
orchid.
Orchids are a good choice. I actually have an orchid that my sister gave me 5 years ago. It's like this little small orchid. I've had it for 5 years. It bloomed when she gave it to me, and then it's just been dormant. And it bloomed this year. We moved into this house, and it started. I mean, it's been alive, but it's blooming. It looks beautiful, and I am excited because I feel like I have accomplished something.
Nice. That's awesome.
Thanks for.
I feel like Eric was gonna say. I felt like Eric was gonna say that like flower that like smells like rotting flesh. He's like, I mean, it's beautiful. It's
What
just
is that?
beautiful in a different
Fuck,
way.
What is that flower called? It has a really. It only
Isn't it
blooms.
like the devil? Isn't it called like the devil's tongue? It's called like the devil's tongue or something like that because it's like 6 feet tall.
Yeah, it doesn't
it's, like,
bloom.
horrendous.
It blooms like every 10 years, right, or something crazy.
Yeah.
Stop.
And
guys,
yes.
I just need y'all to know that I think one is blooming at Longwood Gardens. It came up on my news feed. Maybe we should check it out. It's literally like the flower from Beetlejuice. Is that the movie? Like the giant, huge, crazy Venus.
No,
it's called the corpse flower.
The corpse flower. Yeah, that's right. No,
Does
I
it
think
really
the one
smell like rotting flesh?
Yeah, it smells like rotting flesh.
Yes, it does. Yeah, because that's how it pollinates. It attracts specific types of flies to it that will then land on it and then pollinate it.
No, I'm pretty sure this is the one that's at the garden. I feel like it looks like this.
Nice.
Is it? Maybe? I don't know.
I will go with you.
Man,
And no, the movie you're thinking of, was Dennis the Menace. It was Dennis the Menace.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yes. It didn't feel right when I said Beetlejuice, but I knew it was from that era. No, seriously, guys, we might need to look. It is. You can watch it. It's fucking blooming. It's so weird that you said that I just saw that post yesterday, and I thought, man, I want to go fucking see that. I didn't know it smelled like rotting flesh. I am very familiar with that smell due to my line of work, so I'm up for it. I'm immune. We'll have masks on. Yeah, let's fucking do it. All right.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this journey of emotions?
Not on
anybody?
That's all I need to know.
Wait, what was that, Allie? Am I coming with you guys to go see the flower?
Are you coming with us to see this corpse flower?
Depending on.
Eric will not.
Well, David says that, but David doesn't invite me sometimes to things. So if I get a little shade, getting thrown at David. But Allie, if you invite me, then depending on my schedule, I would go.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so we might have to put a pin in this 10 years from now. We might have to circle back around 10 years from now because I'm supposed to go to Colorado on Tuesday. So depending on how this weekend looks like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie told me
Dude,
about
I'll go
that.
tomorrow. I'm off. I have off work now. I have weekends off because my new job is awesome.
Yeah, you have you have the 9 to 5 now, which is the best.
I know.
It really is the best.
Hours.
It's normal hours are the best. It's
so good. Oh.
I don't know. I don't know why.
I really want to push for. Do you want to know what I really want to push for? What I really think that America needs is working 4 9-hour shifts instead of 5 8. All right, call me crazy, but man,
I agree.
4 10s, it's too much. 4 10s is a little bit too much. Then you got to throw a half-hour lunch break in there. It's basically 11 hours. 4 9-hour shifts. Yeah, everybody would be so much happier.
Yeah,
I agree.
Anyway.
I agree. The 3-day weekend I think would benefit everybody, and also it would allow for people to have second shifts, and I think it would boost
The
employment.
economy. Yeah.
Yep.
And the economy, because think about it, you have a whole day that you're like, shit, I can go out and like do something that I actually want to do because I have extra time.
Yep, exactly. I agree. All right.
Cool.
Any further thoughts? Anybody?
No.
Last? No? All right. All right, everybody. Well, that's about all we have for you this evening. We would like to thank you for joining us. I'm not going to read our normal spiel at the end like we do with our other episodes, but we'd like to thank you for joining us. Make sure you go to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our YouTube channel for more information about Eric, Carly, Allie, and myself. Go to podcastrecovery.com. And if you like what we do, please donate to our Venmo, our PayPal, or I can't remember the other one.
Patreon. Our Patreon. Become a home group member.
Patreon, absolutely. Please become a home group member. Support us. We need new mic stands. We do. The mic stands we have right now.
Well,
they stink.
So something. Just one of the. Yeah, things are falling apart on my end, guys. So it's pretty funny, actually. Yeah. Like, I have this, but it's fine. Yeah, we need some new gear, but yeah.
We need some new gear, and we need support from our amazing fans out there. But I think most importantly, everybody stay safe, stay clean, and love one another. And today, try to break the stigma.